Moat on the volley, and the corner. What a start for West Bromwich Albion. Unbelievable! West Bromwich Albion have ruined his big day.
Line again, and it's Adam Wingy who gets the final touch, and West Bromwich Albion now have a 2-goal cushion.
The Baggies Podcast, giving you the latest news, views and opinions on all things Albion. Hello and welcome back to the Baggies Podcast, where of course we're giving you all the latest news, views and opinions on all things Albion. Back again with another match reaction podcast for you, chatting today all about the recent fixtures against Bristol City and Swansea City. We're going to be going through all the analysis and opinion on both of those games, as well as giving you a look ahead to the next game against Fulham on Saturday. We'll be chatting through the nooks and crannies of both of these games in this match reaction podcast. It's episode 63 of the Baggies Podcast. But if you're new around here, be sure to subscribe to the show. Make sure you're subscribed on your podcast platform or YouTube. If you're watching me in full motion, here I am waving at you. Make sure that you're subscribed and drop us a little review if you've enjoyed the episode, or a nice comment on YouTube perhaps even. But yeah, we'll be going straight into this match reaction episode, covering all the latest fixtures. A real up and down week for Baggies fans. A loss in midweek against Swansea, but a big win against Bristol at the weekend. We'll be chatting all the way through those. So join me on today's Baggies Podcast episode for all of the reaction to those two games. Let's get straight into it. So let's crack on and chat about West Bromwich Albion 1, Swansea City 2. A really poor encounter and a really poor performance from West Bromwich Albion. A real just a very annoying performance, I'll say, from West Bromwich Albion. I was really disappointed with the performance and disappointed with the, I'll say, tactical setup of the side, really. I've been writing some pieces for Valvel, which is a relatively well-known football source and a football news outlet. So I'll leave a little link to the pieces that I've been writing in the description of the article, as this might be, quite interesting for you guys. So I'm covering West Brom on there in particular. So yeah, make sure you check that out. That'll be quite interesting. So yeah, essentially I wrote an article about that game, and I'll be referencing that several times throughout this game, throughout this podcast. So yeah, if you want to go and check that out, there'll be a link in the description of the podcast. So yeah, if we start by talking a little bit about Ismail's decisions and Ismail's sort of tactics and sort of predictability in this particular game. So his style of play has kind of come under scrutiny from Albion fans despite this opening period of the season. Really. Obviously, we've started the season really well before that game. Obviously, in the top two and only been beaten once with that was by Stoke. Obviously, we spoke about that in that particular podcast with Alfie from Baggies Bible. Make sure you go and check out previous episodes if you haven't already. They're still pretty relevant. They just talk about a different game to the most recent one, really. So, yeah, the loss at Swansea, it really did spark questions from the Albion fans after quite a poor pre-international break performance when we fell to that defeat against Stoke. Ismail named a one change from that particular side that beat Birmingham City last time out. Of course, we spoke with Joe from the Albion show about that one. Jason Malumbi came in for the injured Alex Mowatt. Jason Malumbi, of course, really impressive coming in against Birmingham City, and I'm sure that we'll get to him in just a little bit. But yeah, Ismail's style of play was kind of more direct on Wednesday, and I think that the high press was kind of a little bit half-hearted, which, Swansea, we knew were going to be a team that play out from the back. They're going to be a team that are going to want to play their football. They're going to want to pass for passing's sake, if you like. And I thought the high press was just going to come back and work to a T in this particular game, but it just wasn't to be. The press was kind of half-hearted. We've just literally, as I'm recording this, I've just finished watching Manchester United versus Liverpool, where I've seen Manchester United's half-hearted press, meaning they've got beaten 5-0 by Liverpool, who are a good side on the ball and are able to bypass that press very easily. And we found it to be kind of the same against Swansea City. They found it incredibly easy when playing out from the back and when taking that ball out. And I thought that it was just really difficult for Albion to kind of just grasp that ball back from Swansea, because the press was so semi-detached, really, quite detached from the rest of the pitch. So, you'd have the front three slightly pressing, so they bypass it into the midfield. And the midfield would kind of press a little bit more, and then it would get past them, and then it's into the back three, and that's when the problem started to arise. The high line was constantly being exploited by Swansea City, with players such as Jamie Patterson, who've got a lot of pace in the attack, and ended up in behind several times, and obviously scored from a situation like that. So, yeah, I thought the press was really half-hearted and really uncoordinated in that particular way. So I was really disappointed to see the high press being used in this way and not really being used as effectively as perhaps it can be. So, yeah, I thought it was disappointing and very disappointing indeed. But we're hoping that's kind of something that's been used and has sort of been looked at from Albion's perspective. But yeah, in terms of differences to other games, against Cardiff we played quite a shorter, high tempo passing game. It was really good to see. It worked really a treat against Cardiff when every time we got the ball we were getting it down on the deck, playing it forward quite neatly, and it worked really, really well. And it worked very effectively. The plan B to the high pressing style and the direct style has always kind of been needed, but it hasn't always been lacking from the Barnsley manager. But it seemed in that Swansea game that it wasn't plan B that was needed. It was actually the original plan. What needed to be done was to play Val ball, was to play this style of football from Valérien Ismaël that works a treat, really. I thought it was something that just really confused me, where essentially Albion were just playing this this sort of mix between sort of long ball football and just turgid, boring football without a real purpose. I couldn't have told you what sort of style of play that was on Wednesday. What we needed wasn't a plan B, as so many people have touted and so many people have said. What we didn't need was a plan B. What we needed was plan A to be put into action. That style of play that we saw against Bournemouth first game of the season, that style of play that we saw, against against the side, Bournemouth at the start of the season. We needed that. We needed all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, I was really disappointed by that, and really, really upset by the way that Albion played that game. So yeah, I'm really disappointed, but we'll see about that and see sort of how we impact that playing style. It was quite annoying, really, just to see everybody calling for this plan B, and it wasn't plan B that was needed. It was plan A all along. It was never plan B. What we needed was that high press to come back, and we needed that direct style of football playing into the front line quickly to work to a T. And it just didn't come out, unfortunately, which was a shame and quite disappointing from an Albion perspective, to just see the fact that everybody was calling for plan B when actually it was just plan A that was needed all along, really. So it's a shame to see that, and it was a shame to see that sort of style of play coming through in this sort of half and half style of football. Fair enough for Swansea. Jamie Patterson was on banging form again. The game before that, he picked up 3 goal contributions in the South Wales derby, and then a goal and an assist against Albion in this particular game. And yeah, him and Joel Perreault up front were really good. Let's face that. But yeah, I thought in particular it was a really difficult performance from Albion. I thought that it just did not look great from us. I thought I was really worried going into the weekend about the game, and I was really worried about facing up in this performance. Bartley was caught so many times in behind, which I suppose isn't his fault, because if the manager sees that happening, it's something that he should rectify. It just felt like we were just kind of just surfing along with it, sort of winging it, just thinking we'll be okay. We scored in the first minute through Karlan Grant, who made it 5 goals in 5 games, and then all of a sudden, things were just going down the pan, to be quite honest. Things were just escalating. Things were just escalating, getting a lot worse. And, we're really disappointed to see that, we just didn't change throughout the game. Val almost sees these problems happening and kind of chooses to sort of ignore them or dismiss them. So, yeah, really disappointed with the performance against Swansea City, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are as well. Of course, let me know your thoughts on the game. If you want to go and get involved via our Twitter feed at the Baggies Pod, I'll be more than happy to welcome you to the conversation about the game. I was particularly disappointed by this performance. Let's just have a little look at some of the stats. Swansea outplayed us in terms of expected goals, 1.47 from Swansea to 0.8 from Albion. 9 total shots from Swansea, 10 for Albion. 2 big chances created for Swansea, both scored. Of course, one for Joe Perreault and one for Jamie Patterson. Vice versa, assists and goals for them two as well. Just completely outfunctioned by Swansea City, and they're not a functional team as well. They're a pretty poor side if you really knock into them and are physical with them. But quite frankly, we weren't. We played into Swansea's hands. If you play against the ball playing side and only half press against them, chances are you're not going to get anywhere near the ball, and you're not going to be able to score. So yeah, I was really disappointed with the performance from Albion, and yeah, was hoping for a better one against Bristol City. In terms of more of the stats, Swansea of course had more of the ball, of course had more possession. We knew that was going to happen, but they just needed to play a little bit of football. That was all really. They just needed a little bit of football to play, and quite frankly, there was just none of it really. I was incredibly disappointed, and yeah, very very upset, and hoping for something a little bit different from Albion in this game against Bristol City. But I'll just take a quick break, but we'll be back again to discuss the 3-0 victory against Bristol City after we were hoping for a very, very different performance to the one against Swansea in midweek. Back in a sec. So back again now to chat again about a fantastic victory against Bristol City in the EFL Championship, which did take us into second in the division, but now back to third in the league. After a really good performance from Fulham today against Nottingham Forest, beating the Forest 4-0. So yeah, we'll be chatting a little bit about that game now before we head off for the week. But yeah, a pretty decent performance from Albion. I'm going to just put it out there and say I think that's the best performance this season. Yes, it was against a very, very poor side, in my opinion. A very, very poor side in Bristol City, probably the worst side I've seen at the Hawthorn certainly this season, and I thought that they were pretty on par with a lot of the teams at the bottom of the league, and that's exactly round about where they are. They're 17th in the division, not doing great under Nigel Pearson. Lots of disgruntled atmosphere from the fans. You're not fit to wear the shirt. I heard several times, which is a shame. For Bristol, they're a big club. They're a big city, and should probably be challenging for promotion places. And the fact they haven't been in the Premier League yet is quite baffling for Bristol City. So, yeah, they're not really where they want to be at all, and they're certainly not where they want to be being beaten 3-0 away from home, especially after such impressive away form for Bristol City, which is something that they've had for quite a significant amount of time. They've had the probably the third best away record in the league before this game, and their home record has been absolutely shocking. So I thought they'd come here and try and get a result, and they kind of caved in. I know he scored early on, 8 minutes in, through Jordan Hugill, backing his first Albion goal, which was nice to see. Could have had probably about 5, but we'll talk a little bit more about Jordan Hugill in a little bit. But, Bristol City, yeah, they just carved open, so many times. Look at the XG from Albion, nearly 4, so 3.93 XG, and think the ones that we scored, the Grant goal, possibly even the Carl Bartley goal, probably were harder chances than the ones that were missed. I look at the chance in there just inside the box for Jordan Hugill that ended up over the top of the bar. That was probably the biggest chance of the game. I look at this chance from Snodgrass that hit the bar. I look at the chance from Karlan Grant where he went in on goal and was saved. So many chances in that game to put the game to bed, and it just didn't happen. Even the chance from Malumbi that was saved and just easily caught. There was a chance there, a bit of a half chance in there. Centre of the box there was from Jordan Hugill from a set piece, which was a good header straight to the goalkeeper. So yeah, I think there's plenty of chances in there for Albion that could have resulted in a goal for the Baggies, but not to be. But Bristol just caved open every single time we went forward, and I think certainly from a Bristol perspective, that's got to be pretty irritating, to be honest. Conceding that amount of goals. Conceding 3 goals away from home, not really coming with a resolute and a resilient defensive manner, just coming into the game and not really playing very well at all, to be honest, Bristol. And they'll be really disappointed with that performance. They bought, Nigel Pearson bought off George Tanner quite early on in the game, which was, a youngster being bought off, on one of his, not made too many appearances for the club so far. So, yeah, it was quite disappointing, to be honest, to see that Albion had, caved in no, Bristol were caved in. We were expecting a lot more of the game, and I think we should be grateful that we've played up against a pretty poor team in what was in one of the first games, to be honest. And it's in one of the games that we needed to bounce back with, and I think we're quite lucky that we've managed to we've managed to do that. So yeah, I think we're all disappointed really that we didn't have much of a game really, but we're really pleased to have come out with a really good result, a 3-0 victory, some really good stand-up performance in there. I'm going to, of course, Lord praise on the midfield too. Robert Snodgrass coming into the side, replacing the suspended Jake Livermore, and Jason Malumbi sticking in the side following Alex Mowatt's injury after he came in the side against Birmingham City late on in the game, and of course starting against Swansea City. What a performance from those two in the middle of the park. Robert Snodgrass adding that valuable experience in the middle of the park. It just makes so much of a difference when you've got a real footballer with experience, and of course that experience of being an attacking player, as Robert Snodgrass is. He's been a winger, he's been a centre attacking midfielder, he's been that attacking midfielder. But in this particular game, he was asked to do a double pivot roll around, with Jason Malumbi. He was picking up the ball every time he got it down, and he looked up. It wasn't I like Livermore, and I think he's done a fantastic job, but I think if that was Livermore a lot of those times, Livermore wouldn't have had the shot that hit the bar from Snodgrass, because that's not the sort of player he is. But there were plenty of times where I think, Snodgrass could have just booted the ball forward, and he put the ball on the deck, and he played some quite sweet through balls and cross-field passes. I thought Snodgrass was immense. 83 pass success. We'll talk through a few of the stats here. 6 duels won in the game, 83% pass accuracy, 9 crosses from a central area as well. 15 ball recoveries. It's just phenomenal from Robert Snodgrass. You consider that he's had a lot of fitness issues, a lot of knocks. His first league start since the 14th of February this year against Manchester United. It's just chalk and cheese from what we've been used to with Robert Snodgrass, and we're really glad to see him playing what was a fantastic performance for Albion, and of course done really, really, really well in this particular game, alongside Jason Malumbi, who just added those legs that we've needed in midfield and quality on the ball as well. He's certainly not the kind of guy that needs a lot of time on the ball. He can pick up the ball. He's tidying up. He's constantly coming in behind the defence to cover up. He's constantly coming in front of the defence to cover up. He's high pressing. He's bringing energy into the middle of the park alongside Snodgrass, who's not full of energy, but he's certainly got that class. It was a perfect midfield combination from Albion, and I was really pleased to see both of those start together, and I think they're undroppable for the next game against Fulham. I really do. I can't see anybody replacing these two in the midfield. That it would be completely wrong if Val is to change that midfield pairing. Yes, of course, Mowatt's class. Yes, of course, Livermore's done a really good job this season. But if you were to change either of those, I think that would just be out of order, and I think that they don't deserve to be changed at the moment. I think they're perfect just the way they are, that pairing. So, yeah, I personally wouldn't be changing either of them, and I'd personally be keeping them the same for the game against Fulham. I just thought they were class, and I thought they just worked really well. Yes, Snodgrass is 34. He's going to run out of energy at some point, but yes, he was wavering towards the end of the game yesterday, but I thought he was just class. Picking up the ball, battling in the middle of the park. He was very, very good. And a shout out to Donald Furlong on the right wing back as well. 2 assists in this particular game. Obviously his throw in and also the cross for Hugill in the first half as well. What a performance it was from Albion. I'm really pleased to see us getting the victory. Another one in the Championship, and did indeed send us up to second in the table at the time. Obviously gone down to third now. Yes, of course, we've gone back to third now, but just a really good performance from Albion, and I'm so pleased to see us getting that victory. And yeah, Matt Clark at centre back as well just adds a lot when he's in there, because he's just so solid. You look at somebody like Connor Townsend just streaming up and down that left hand side. It's just really great to see us back in a nice little game and just playing the way we should be. Jordan Hugill up front. Yes, it's nice to see him get off to goal scoring start for Albion, but wasn't half. Could have had 5, could have had 6 in this particular game, and we're all really disappointed, really, that he hasn't ended up with more goals. A real quality finishing striker would have had plenty more than Jordan Hugill in this particular game. So I'm a little bit disappointed not to see him pick up a couple more goals, especially with the chances that he had. The one that went over the bar from quite close range was the real killer for me, but probably went 1-on-1 3 times after that and was unable to convert any of those chances. So I do feel with a more clinical striker in the side, you're winning that game quite easily. You did win the game quite easily, but it turns into a whitewash. It turns into your 6s or 7-0s against Bristol City. But yeah, I thought it was a really good performance, very complete, lots more shorter passing, and I think that was mainly down to Snodgrass and Malumbi in the midfield. There's not a midfielder there that wants to play hit and hope. There's two footballers in that midfield. So yeah, really pleased with the performance. 3-0 against Bristol City. Can't be complaining about that. But yeah, let's march on straight away and chat a little bit about Fulham against West Bromwich Albion. A big game coming up on the Saturday lunchtime kickoff. Obviously, really looking forward to this one. And going to be a really big game. Of course, Fulham, in fantastic form, doing really, really well so far in the Championship, second in the table. After a really good season so far under Marco Silva, former Everton, Hull and Watford manager. So he played really, really well. Obviously West Brom ranked second in the league for home sides this season. Fulham ranked first in goals scored per match with 2.4 goals and have been awarded the most penalties this season as well. Fulham with 3 penalties awarded. Alexander Mitrovic, top scorer in the Championship as well, with 15 goals. Yeah, and Fulham is playing so well. Alexander Mitrovic, top scorer. Albion ranked second in the league for goal scores per match with 1.8 goals. Ranked third in big chances created. There's some big stats in there. Previous meetings against Fulham, 2-2 draw in the Premier League last time out under Big Sam. A 2-0 loss against Fulham in the Premier League under Slaven Bilic. A 0-0 draw against Fulham in the Championship. And then a 1-1 draw against Fulham in the Championship. And then a 1-1 draw but 2 1-1 draws in the Premier League in the 13-14 season. Then 2 losses from us. So we haven't beaten Fulham since this October of 2010. So yeah, nearly 11 years we haven't beaten Fulham for. So we're looking forward to this one, especially now I've read out that stat. But yeah, it's going to be a tight game and it's going to be a must-win one for Albion. A really big clash at the top of the league. Can see why it's been selected for that. I'm really looking forward to this one. I hope you guys enjoy it as well. And hopefully a big win for Albion. Fingers crossed that we put in the performance that we saw against Bristol City. And certainly not the performance we put in against Swansea City. But that does bring me to the end of the Baggies podcast for this week. Hope you've enjoyed the episode. Hopefully you've enjoyed this analysis. And make sure you drop us a nice review or a subscription. If you've enjoyed the podcast, make sure you're getting involved via our Twitter page at thebaggiespodcast. And I'll see you in the next one. Enjoy your week, Baggies fans. Come on, you Baggies. Goodbye.